Hey guys, Brass Facts with the Nova Group, bringing you some more SHOT Show 2026 content. It's 7:30 in the morning. I'm waiting for the showroom floor to open, so we might as well be productive and talk about the new Eotech, holographic weapon sight. I have some issues with a lot of the Eotech products, but honestly, their sights, specifically the 1 to 10x and, well, the holographic one, is probably one of my favorite products they make and one of my favorite products in the industry overall. The holographic sight specifically is, I have 3 of them, so you can tell I'm a fan. They're excellent just usage during the daytime due to their wide field of view, and they really shine at nighttime, being still, in my opinion, one of the best options for night vision transmission. And then in terms of ergonomics with the night vision button and with the granularity of having 14 Borgillion night vision settings, you have by far the best chance of actually actively using, passively using a sight at night at more than point blank range. And that's kind of a big deal, in my opinion. So it works really well on sort of PDWs and night vision guns. So I was fairly excited that they came out with a new one. And at first glance, it's kind of comical, and at longer glance, there are a couple issues I want to talk about with the Eotech. So right at the get-go, if you're not familiar with it, you can see footage on the screen. It's a very similar design. And the biggest change by far is just simply they've added a rotary dial instead of buttons on the side to get to your different brightness settings. And that at first glance is actually quite good. Probably the biggest issue of the Eotech is when you have, I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 available settings, pressing your buttons to get to those settings is majorly a pain in the ass, especially in the night vision one where you click it and you gotta hammer on that thing over and over to get to your actual settings. Doing that in the cold or with gloves is actually kind of difficult to do. Kind of sucks, right? So right at the get-go, the thing that everyone asks every single time for Eotech, and they've denied it for many years, is finally here. The Eotech does auto on, auto off. That is, if you set it down, it will eventually turn itself off to conserve batteries, and then when you pick it up or budge it, touch it, whatever, the optic will turn itself back on, back to its previous setting. Oh my God, they did it. I think this is pretty hilarious because the amount of people that defended Eotech and said this was a completely unnecessary feature because it's going to make the sight less reliable can now eat their hat. Excellent. In general, for a sort of fighting infantry, whatever, door kicker rifle, this isn't a big deal, just due to the nature of how the optic is going to be used. You're going to use it, and then when you're done with it, you're going to turn it off and put it on the rack or whatever. But it gives this an option to be used as sort of a home defense sort of setup, right? Where you turn it on, set it down, it turns itself off, and you can leave it there for weeks on end, and when it's time to go, you pick it up and it turns itself back on. So I think it just makes the optic more flexible, and that's a good thing. There's also a new auto adjustment feature. You turn the dial to A, and the optic will dim and brighten itself, like we've seen countless times. I think Holosun does it, Trijicon does it, and I'm sure many more do it, right? It worked on the showroom floor, but the showroom floor is a really bad place to test stuff like that.
Hi, you'd think I'd figure out how to do this by now, but I keep forgetting every single time. This is the Venture Surplus ad read, making SHOT Show 2026 possible for the Nova Group. So the fun thing behind the scenes I've heard about Venture Surplus is that they don't actually make that much money when selling you MREs, and it's actually a huge pain in the ass to ship those things out. So for this ad read, I want to tell you, go head over to Venture Surplus, buy some MREs. They're actually a great way to have just sort of food sitting in your car at all times that you can snack on, do whatever with, and then have. So go check them out. Back to me complaining about Eotechs.
So probably the title of this video is giving away what I actually want to talk about, and that is I actually have a lot of gripes, just very obvious to me gripes from the get-go of how this is set up. Ignoring the fact that this looks like a so in Call of Duty and Battlefield and a lot of games, they don't want to pay royalty fees or whatever for these optics, right? So they use an optic that looks very similar, but it's sort of like AI generated, not literally AI generated, but like what someone that's been described in Eotech would look like. And this is what that looks like of an Eotech. Eotech has ripped off its own Eotech. It's like amorphous, and it looks like, yeah. Anyway, you get the point. That's actually not a big deal. It's funny, but it's not a big deal. My bigger issue is, well, a number of them, is that they removed the shroud. Eotechs have generally been considered pretty durable, and that's because it has a sort of spaced sacrificial shroud. And that absorbs all of the impact, keeping the actual optic body itself safe. And without it, I'm a little concerned about the durability on this thing, because to be frank, it's a big optic with a huge pane of glass. And while technically the optic can still keep working with the glass shattered, it's going to leak out all of the gas and become a lot less good, because it's going to not be as bright as it can be, because it needs the gas to be bright, right? If anyone's owned an Eotech, at some point all the gas leaks out, and you've probably experienced this. So the lack of the sacrificial shroud is very concerning. On top of that, the turret adjustments are, from what I've seen, basically the same as the old turret adjustments, but now the shroud is gone, so the turrets are, spaced off of the body. You can press them against gear. You can almost move them with your fingers. They're just exposed, being another weak point on the optic. So not really sure what's going on there. Seems like a major oversight, because exposed turrets with no locking mechanisms will turn. They rub against gear, especially as a lefty. The gun will, rest inboard with the turrets against my gear, and that will cause problems. So once again, a huge miss there. I'm not sure what's up with that. They're not locking turrets. So, and then finally, my perhaps greatest issue, or maybe tied with that turret issue, is the night vision settings. As I said earlier, I'm a big fan of Eotechs because of the availability of night vision settings. And while the rotary dial gives us quick access to all the settings we want, instead of having to deal with pressing a night vision button and hammering it, I've said it like 6 times now already. This has rotary dial, but there's only so much room you can put on a rotary dial unless you want very fine adjustments. So they've opted for 7, I believe, daylight settings and 4 night vision settings. I think this is a huge step backwards, right? Most optics do the usual, 3 or 4 night vision settings and then a corresponding 6, 7, or 8 daylight settings. The daylight settings are fine, right? Even 6 daylight settings is more than enough for me, right? That you don't need that level of fine tuning, in my opinion. But for night vision, for really min-maxing night vision, right, which is what the Eotech is in a lot of ways in the commercial market, you want more night vision settings so you can fine tune it. Now, most of the time it's not a big deal. 4 settings will get it done. A lot of optics, the AIMs, I believe the T2, the MRO, right, the list goes on, right? A lot of optics that are good and bad at night vision only have 4 settings. But the Eotech was meant to be the best one at night vision. It only having 4 settings is a bummer, right? 4 settings is absolutely not enough in certain conditions, and you will have 1 setting that's too bright and 1 setting that is not bright enough. Now, we will see how good these 4 settings are, right? Because there's good and bad ways to do it, right? It depends what the brightest and the least bright is, right? A lot of optics that do this have the lowest setting as too low, or inversely, the brightest setting is too bright, and then the delineation off of that results in a almost unusable night vision optic. But yeah, that's my take on the new Eotech. We shall see. I will love to review it, but I already have a lot of concerns with its outward design choices. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. I should have a couple more videos before I make my main, SHOT Show Brass Facts Abridged thing. And yeah, hopefully you guys are enjoying the content. We'll see you guys later.